Well, I knew it was a woman because you see her in the images. And I had a kind of moment where I thought, I want to see if this person is still alive. Later that week, I'm like, let me just Google to see if this person is even anybody. So I Googled her name. The only thing that was on the search was an obituary. But there was nothing about this person being a photographer, a journalist, an artist. Absolutely nothing.
Let's see how it sounds. I'm going to play it back.
Vivian's story is very mysterious. It's still being unraveled. My name is John Maloof. I live on the northwest side of Chicago in Portage Park. I grew up with just my mother, basically. My father passed when I was young. My brother, we would do flea markets. We would go junking, you name it. Being in the resale business, I knew the owners of an auction house. I went there looking for neighborhood photos. I found a box of negatives. There were about 20 or 30,000 negatives in that box. 20 or 30,000. I think I paid like $380 or something. And, I'm like, whoa, these are great images.
My name is Mary Ellen Mark. I live in New York. I've been a photographer my whole life. I first saw the work of Vivian just a few months ago. How sad it was that this woman died and no one ever appreciated and knew her work while she was alive. She worked in Chicago and she was in New York for a while. She worked as a nanny. She just saw things as they were. She looks at things that we don't notice.
She would walk up to the subject. It seemed almost quietly, and it would be an intimate moment. It was when everything was kind of, silent and quiet. I did some amateur detective work, if you will. And sure enough, I found a family that she nannied for. She was French by default, if you will. She was born in New York, but moved to France when she was very young. So she spoke French. She called herself French. So maybe she saw Americans as weird. I couldn't tell you. From what I'm told, she was a feminist, an anti-Catholic. She was a film critic, a socialist. Someone even said anarchist, big on women's rights. She was a theater buff.
I happened to see
She loved biographies.
Film, The Four Horsemen of
Firm, blunt, very opinionated, political, very paranoid.
This is the picture we're looking at of a family on a beach. The frames are so spontaneous, and she's just looking at life and capturing moments that are real. That and that and that and that and that. So few people that know how to shoot like that. Someone reading, that's beautiful. A woman reading in a restaurant, and then a reflection in a mirror of a man. What's interesting about a lot of these photographers, you don't see much of their personal life. You don't. It's all about the outside world that they're looking at. It's enigmatic. It's hard to describe her. People fake pictures like that now. They just so much atmosphere, so much about America.
She was a nanny for a family in a Chicago suburb that she lived with for over 10 years. She would leave Sunday and Monday and just not tell them where she went. She would lock her room when she left. She would come home. They never saw in her room. But one day, she left the door unlocked, and they went inside and they saw she had newspapers stacked to the ceiling with a small path leading to her bed. And they said the bed even had 3 feet of newspapers on it. They don't know where she could have even slept. When that family that she nannied tried to reconnect with her later in her life, she scolded them and said, "You're spying on me." And she didn't want anything to do with them. She saved a lot of nonsense. She saved rubber bands that she would find on the ground. Everything from that to capturing images through a camera. And I think that's a product of why she was so prolific. She would just save memories through a machine. Even audio cassettes. I have one here.
Well, I suppose nothing is meant to last forever. We have to make room for other people. It's a wheel. You get on, you have to go to the end, and then someone else has the same opportunity to go to the end, and so on, and somebody else takes their place. There's nothing new under the sun. So now I'm going to close and quickly run next door to do my work.
She's looking at the real world, and we're not seeing it polished or changed, or we're looking at the real world through her eyes. She shared her world with us. Vivian shared her world with us, and she was the real deal. She was a wonderful photographer.